let's talk about Zeta. Zeta, she's cool. This is more of like a character, you know what I mean? Like, this is like, listen, not to just keep shitting on Charlotta on like every single available moment, but like, this Zeta to me feels like a character where she has a lot of really good things about her. So when it's like, oh, well, a couple of things here are weird, right? Then like, you can be like, all right, but that's like the balance, right? If she has these weaknesses and like those strengths make up for it, and like the weaknesses kind of balance out the strengths and all of this, right? Where people were kind of saying that about Charlotta, and I was like, she kind of just has a couple of things that are okay, and the rest of her is kind of garbage. I don't feel it's really balanced, but yeah, Zeta. We can talk about Zeta because she feels solid. I certainly understand. Like, my general opinion on her before I knew she had the fuzzy, and you know, therefore my general opinion on her now that she doesn't have the fuzzy, I think is about where I still stand on her. Basic thing with Zeta, essentially, is her buttons are good. Her buttons are specialized, okay? Is how I describe it. Her 4L is good, just a white woman 4L, right? And it does, if we look at hitboxes here, right? The hitbox is, like, the actual, like, extendo part of the hitbox is pretty high up, right? Like, that's good range on a 4L, but, like, there's a big extension that's way up there, right? So it does certainly have the problem of whiffing on crouchers a lot at distance. But it's the same problem that, like, you know, Beatrix has this problem with her 4L. Who else has a white woman 4L? Sandalphon. I know Sandalphon has the white woman 4L as well, and he has the same kind of similar sort of problem, right? Where this thing has very good range, but it's very prone. Percival doesn't have the white woman 4L. His 4L, Catalina's 4L, they also whiff on crouchers, but not as badly as this one, right? If I remember correctly, the sort of the hitbox profile on Percy and Catalina's 4Ls look a little different than this. Sandalphon trans confirmed. I mean, based. But yeah, I think the only three characters I can think of that have the white woman 4L are Beatrix, Zeta, and Sandalphon, right? Like, am I missing something? I guess so. Sandy, one of the girlies. But yeah, so it's a good button though, right? This is a good 4L. It's you know, it's got its weaknesses and its strengths, right? Good range on it, right? But it can struggle against crouchers at distance. Her 2L is totally normal, right? Let me just move back here so you can actually see the hitbox, right? It's like a totally okay 2L. Like, decent range on it, it hits low, right? Fully serviceable. Her mediums are where things get interesting. We already talked about this, but, like, they're pretty big, but also slow, man, right? 10 frame 4M, 9 frame 2M. Neither of her mediums, not only does she not have a 7 frame medium, she doesn't even have an 8 frame medium, right? So this is like a weakness for sure, right? This is like the one thing where I go, her normals are specialized, and that, weirdly enough, right? Zeta is a spear character who kind of, now that I think about it, feels like a spear character, right? Because these normals are very good when you're like, obviously you're not using the whole range of the spear. It will be a huge normal if she was. She's like half sorting it a little bit. But like, in the sense that these normals are very good when you're at the tip of her spear. But if you get past the tip, these become very bad, right? Like, her 2M and 4M, when she's up close, are, like, real bad. Which is, again, I never really thought about it until just now. But, I mean, it's spear, right? Like the actual weapon. A spear is very good at keeping people out. But once you get past, sort of, if you get in on a spear, it has a very hard time, like, dealing with you up close, right? So that's kind of cool, I guess. But thematics aside, it does mean that these buttons suck on, like, defense. And, honestly, even in, like, up-close pressure. Like, a lot of times, you'd want to, like, you know, 6XL 2M or something like that, right? And like if I 6XL someone and they block it, right? If I 2M here, if they have like a 7 frame 2M of their own, it's gonna clash with me, right? This is my fastest medium. Like, I just have to 6XL 4L, but the problem is, if I 6XL 4L and they're crouching and I'm kind of spaced, right? My shit might just whiff clean over their head, right? So like, it is a genuine problem for her. The fact that her fastest button that isn't a light is 9 frames. Because her far H, I believe, is also 9 frames up close, right? It's not like she has like an 8 frame far H. How does it compare to Uno? Uno also has a slow medium. He's got a similar sort of idea going on, right? Uno has a similar problem to this, where if you look at Mr. Henri Uno, his far M is 10 and his 2M is 11, right? It's even slower than Zeta's, but his is like, this is huge, right? Like, if you media this thing is... This is like an Anila 2U, damn near, right? Uno has a very similar... It's the same weakness that both of, like, the spear-using characters have, right? where they have very good normals for kind of keeping you out like this, but once you get past the tip, it gets a little bit more hurtful. Uno's far L is a little bit more reliable in terms of hitting crouchers than Zeta's, but he can still certainly run into like similar problems like that, right? Yeah, very similar idea on both of them, which is, hey, cool thematic design. Anil is Naginata. I mean, you know, she like half swords it for the 2M and stuff like that. But yeah, so the general thing here is that these mediums overall, I don't think I like them too much. Because it's not just like, oh, just keep them out. It's like, even when you're on pressure, when you're winning, when it's your turn, they can cause problems, right? So, you know, they're good at like, you know, the footsies, but I'm not a big fan of these mediums, I don't think. Her far heavy's okay. It's 9 frames, it can be 12 if it's further away, but you know, it's a 9-frame far H with okay range on it, really pretty decent range. I'm not too mad at it. But yeah, her buttons are fine. They're good. They're specialized. Again, she's very good at like keeping you out in this distance. But again, once either of you are close, it gets a little bit more awkward for her. 2U is not bad for this, by the way, right? 7-frame 2U can help her have like something for like sort of the up close right there. But the hitbox on that first hit is quite small, right? So still not exactly, it's the size of her 2L damn near. Yeah, it's like a little bigger than her 2L if you look at that, right? Let me just make sure I'm not blocking it with the frame meter or anything. But if you look at the hitbox there, right? It's like a little bigger. That's her 2L. And that's her 2U, like the first part there. It's like basically the same size. So it's not exactly a medium in terms of defense. But, you know, it can still be a 7-frame low that's a little bigger that like leads to a combo and stuff like that. Not a big fan, not a big fan of her mediums. I think it is definitely one of the primary weaknesses of the character. Because I'm talking about like, oh, you know, like it causes defensive problems and it causes like pressure problems and things like that. But it also means there's a lot of things, you know, that might be -8 on block or something like that Zeta, or even like, you know, that Zeta might have, or -7, that Zeta might have trouble punishing, right? This guy, newly nerfed the Rizzler, is probably a great example of this, right? It would have been even worse back in the day, but, you know, this, I don't think her far L is going to reach from here, right? Even if he's standing, I don't think it would reach from here. Let me double check. Yeah, right? So, like, she can't punish this with far L, which means she can't punish this. Can I get an Arv? I think my mic is going to peak, and I have to go, Arvis! If I go too high-pitched, my mic, like, noise gates it. It's like, oh, someone is dying in the background? I'm going to cut that off. But yeah, so she can't punish this. Straight up, right? Zeta cannot punish this. Her 2L's not going to reach. Her far L's not going to reach. Her 2U's not going to reach, right? Arvis! Yeah, I have to go, like, deeper or my mic's not going to pick it up. Which the high-pitched noise gate is probably a good thing in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, so things like, you know, Sora's, like a well-spaced Sora's roundhouse kick, even though this got nerfed from -7 to -8, right? She still can't punish it, right? I think from here I might have spaced. Oh, no. Yeah, still, right? So like, this is like a uniquely like Zeta and Uno weakness. There's a lot of things where they just can't punish these things because of how bad their mediums are, right? My far H is 9 frames, it's too slow. My 2M is 9 frames, my far M is 9 frames, and my far L, my 2L, and my 2U don't reach, right? It reaches right there. It's on frame 25 though, right? The second hit of her 2U is very big, but it's frame 25. So like there's a couple of cases like this. Narmaya's Kyoka as well, if she spaces it out well, right? Can be a real nightmare for Zeta to punish. These are, you know, strong, like, meta-relevant characters as well, right? But if you get, like, Narmaya with, like, a well-spaced Kyoka, right? I mean, to be fair, that is hard for most characters. That one's really tough for most characters to punish. A little bit, you can probably do it, even be a little lazier with Narmaya here, I bet. Like, if you go, like, even, like, point blank, can she do it? Yeah, no, right? Yeah, you don't even have to be, like, clever with the spacing. It just straight up doesn't work. Yeah, right? Like, I just think Zeta might never be able to punish this. So again, it matters, right? Not having, like, a lot of things in this game are -8 in the sense of, like, they're -8 because you are expected to, like, far M or 2M and pick up a combo. Zeta can't do that, right? So the reason I'm spending all this time on this is because it matters. This is a big weakness of the character. Like, her mediums, not having an 8-frame medium, like, it hurts her pressure, it hurts her defense, it hurts her punishes, it's a problem. Besides that, the character's pretty nasty, right? Like, this is a big deal. This is a big deal, and it means she gets bullied on defense in ways that a lot of characters don't. Besides that, this character's pretty nasty, though, right? So that's kind of the main weakness that she has. a lot of stuff about her is quite nice otherwise. Her corner carry is pretty inherently strong just because of, like, even just doing some really terrible Zeta combo like this, right? Like, even just this is kind of like Jita Rekka, right? Like, the worst case Zeta combo is just the corner carry and damage of Jita Rekka, which is not bad, right? But you can also, because she has 2 different moves like this, it's a little harder. But you can also do stuff, like this, right? And then the damage is pretty damn good, and the corner carry is pretty damn good for being completely meterless. And that's not even, you can do something a little bit harder too, where you get a far H after this. But this one might be a little out of my pay grade to just like pull the rabbit out of the hat right here. You can like time this, you get a far H for even better damage and a similar amount or the same amount of carry, right? But yeah, like her obviously. Oh, I almost had it, but no. But Zeta's mid screen is, I guess this is, oh, there you go. This is another weakness you could cite for the character, certainly. She's technical, right? It's hard. Like, Zeta, doing, like, a lot of Zeta's BMBs are full of, like, relatively difficult manual delays. That is actually probably the second biggest weakness you could cite for the character. It matters a lot more, I think, at low-level play than high-level play, but it's still the case. Like, if you're, like, a Zeta main with, like, a couple, like, 1,000 hours in Zeta, like I have, like, 1,000 hours in La Diva, you're probably not dropping those that often. But it remains true that, you know, just like the best Lukes in the world are gonna drop their perfect knuckles sometimes, even the best Zetas in the world are gonna fuck up the combos with some amount of regularity, right? So, like, she is difficult enough that there is basically no other character in Granblue, I think, that you can hold, like genuine manual execution against them. This game's not that hard executionally, right? But Zeta has a lot of, like, really fucky, like, manual delay, like, 1 to 2 frame links that happen multiple times in a combo for her optimals. Like, she's hard for real, right? Murphy's Law for combos? Yeah. But, like, you know, to get the best out of Zeta is actually significantly difficult compared to, like, getting the best out of Narmaya or any other character, really, right? Like, it's, like, genuinely difficult enough that, like, even good players are going to choose, you know, do I want to go for the optimal, be a little harder, or do I want to just, because, like, even like a 1-frame link is not that, like, Uno, right? 1-frame links where you just have to do the thing as hard as possible are not insanely difficult, right? Like, Uno, you know, his BMB in the mid-screen is boom into 6XL. This is a 1-frame link, right? Because you can't buffer out the dash. So you're +9 and you have to do the 6XL as fast as possible. But it is still noticeably, at least to me, maybe this is a subjective thing, but to me, 1-frame link where you just have to do the thing as quick as you can is significantly easier. I'm not good at execution, so don't get me wrong. But it's significantly easier than a manual delay timing, right? That's why, like, the Lawayne TOD, for example, took me so goddamn long. This is hard, for sure, but I think people who, you know, play Uno for a long time or get used to it, like, they're going to be able to hit this with some amount of consistency that's probably going to be higher than even, like, a trained Zeta doing, like, all of whatever this bullshit is that happens multiple times per combo, right? But Uno, I mean, Uno is a character, he's like another character where, you know, having a 1-frame link, like, intrinsic to a BMB of his is certainly, like, that's a knock against the character, because his mid-screen gets significantly better if you can do that, right? So that's something else, certainly, you can hold against Zeta, is that she's genuinely executionally difficult, for real. There's not really a lot of characters in Granblue, if really any, even to her level, that are like this hard to get the best out of at all times. So that counts. If you do that, though, her meterless mid-screen is kind of insane. I remember we saw a corner carry combo where Zeta can get corner to corner and, like, 5k with no meter spent at all. No Raging Strike, no meter, nothing, right? So, like, her corner carry and, like, her mid-screen is kind of fucking nuts. I think I just built up, like, a bread clip for it or something like that. Sorry for off-topic question, gotta sleep soon, just answer whatever, and I'll rewatch the VOD tomorrow. Tutorial on fundamentals is great. I'm a newbie, got to S+, just because of those. Thanks, man. Glad to hear that helped. I'm now lost on pressure in the corner. I know how to defend, but not how to attack. I do 6XL, close temp to frame trap, and that's it. I lose my turn. Don't know what else to do or how block strings work properly. Do a video in the future on how to keep your turn both in corner and mid-screen. I have made, like, a corner offense and defense guide, but generally the 4 kind of fundamentals, I would say, you got plus frame, right? Plus frame into frame trap, plus frame into throw, plus frame into more plus frames with a gap in the middle, and then plus frame into throw bait, okay? Plus frame into frame trap makes them want to sit still. Plus frame into throw kills them for sitting still. plus frame into plus frame into plus frame into plus frame, like 6XL, 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 makes them want to mash, because if they don't, your turn keeps going forever. And plus frame into throw bait, again, makes them not want to do anything to beat your throw, right? The stagger, like the plus frame into plus frame into plus frame, is the least important part. I would say, you know, fundamental, universal Grand Blue offense, at the very least, make sure you're rotating frame trap and throw, because they're synergistic, right? Frame trap, sit the fuck still. Throw, don't sit the fuck still. Do something, right? We can talk about delay teching and stuff later. I don't think it's really relevant at S+, but the very, very basic answer is the part of your offense you're missing is throwing. Where does something like block strings come into play? You can, so they come into play, but really, like, usually the point of a block string is it's just a fancy way to frame trap someone most of the time, right? You want like you can have a block string where there's a bunch of different guests. Like, I mean, Zeta, I actually know a good one for Zeta, but like, imagine, you know, it's like we can do, actually Zeta would struggle to do this because of our mediums being shit. But like, imagine if Zeta could do, like, you know, bonk, 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 and like all of this, you know, all of that was a frame trap. It's not in Zeta's case, but I play Belial if that's relevant. That'll be easier. That'll be much easier to think about, right? Belial kind of has like a canned one, right? Imagine Belial doing like this, is you know, I guess actually he used to be able to do two of these too, right? But you know, Belial does like this, that, or something like that, right? The point of it is between the 6XL and 2M, if you mash, you die. Between this 2M and this far H, if you mash, you die, right? So once they start to respect the block string, I end up doing like 6XL, 2M, like run up and throw them, right? Or just like 6XL throw them, or something like that. Because they're scared to mash because of the fact that this, like all of these individually will frame trap, right? So the point of a block string basically is the point of it is to have a series of frame traps, or at least guessing moments for your opponent. You know, moments where you have to go, all right, after the 6XL, am I going to follow up with 2M, or am I going to throw you? Or am I going to like do a little funny, right? Or am I going to do like 6XL into like command grab or something, right? So, I do 6XL, 5M, far H, do something like that over and over, and enemies know what to expect. Yeah, I think the big thing, throw. Like the universal fundamental that everyone needs to be doing, strike and throw. You can't be doing just one, right? At the very baseline, do your frame traps, and, you know, about half the time, honestly maybe more early on too, throw, right? If people mash a lot, you can default to frame traps, but like once they sit still, throw, right? You either strike, very simply off 6XL for example, right? I can do that as a frame trap, or I can do that if they sit still. Just adding that makes your offense significantly scarier, because now, the problem with what you're doing, Zai, is that everything you do loses to a guy just doing this, right?
Back to work.
Like, a guy just down backing, it beats your entire offense. So, like, why would I mash? People mash because they panic, sure, but once people start, like, getting a little better, and they actually start, like, you know, not just mashing, like, headbutting their keyboard, and they actually start, like, looking at what you're doing, they're gonna be like, wait a second.
Back to work.
Everything this guy, there's nothing to fear, right? And the problem is you can't run a block string forever, because, you know, if you do something like this even, it pushes you out, right? Either pushes you out, or you're minus now, right? Like, something like your turn ends. So you can't just, like, keep doing shit forever. So, throw. That's my simple answer to you is throw. Start throwing people, right? Plus frame into throw. Plus frame into throw. Plus, you know, whether it's close L, boom, right? 2M is plus on Belial, by the way. Amazing button. Use your 2M. It's +1, right? 2M into run up throw, right? Mix that in with your frame traps, and you'll be fine. Play versus Masters in lobbies and they just block? Yes. I mean, Masters are going to beat your ass for that, for sure. You cannot not be throwing Masters. Absolutely, right? So on a very basic, there's more nuance to offense. On a very basic level, right? You're doing frame traps, that's good. Mix it in with throws. Hope that helps. Okay. What were we talking about with Zeta? I forgot. Hello chat. Hello Brick. How's the patch? It's not a great patch, but the game's still fun. What was I talking about just a second ago here with Zeta? We were talking about her, helps a lot. Thank you so much for your time. No worries. She's hard to play? Oh, yes, yeah. Outside of that, though, again, the thing Zeta can do, like, I pulled up a bread clip for, like, the who can corner to corner thing, which I have to still edit, I just realized. Time to sleep. Bye, see ya. I just realized I still haven't posted that, like, who can do corner to corner thing. But, you know, we looked up, like, a little bread clip. Also, Zach, thank you very much for the prime, man. Much appreciated. Have a good night, man. And she can get, like, corner to corner easily with room to spare, with, like, no meter spent, with nothing, right? So the character, like, the things she gets access to if you do a really crazy shit are genuinely ridiculous. It's like install Vera levels of, like, mid-screen, right? And again, like, you know, her actual, her combos, her damage is not ever that high. Like, even the bread optimal that I saw wasn't even a TOD on Grant, right? So her max damage isn't even ever that high in the corner. But she gets a lot of, like, safe jumps. She gets a lot of damage off any little stray hits. Because, like, you know, even, like, a far L or something can convert into, like, the full, like, Spear of Arves bullshit. You know, whatever it is that you Zetas be doing off of this shit, right? So any little hits can confirm into a lot of damage because of how quick, you know, the spears are, which is very nice for her, right? So her average damage is very, very high if you can do her good shit regularly. Problem is, it's kind of hard to do, right? But good mid-screen, good average damage, right? Decent buttons for footsies. We've talked about them as a weakness. They are a weakness. And her U skills, by the way, are still very good, right? Were they nerfed a shit ton over the course of the game's lifespan? Yes. But they were insane before, and now they're just, like, very good, right? They're just very strong. They still command a lot of respect on the screen. When Zeta has 50, you have to be afraid of this, right? You can't really jump at her because this will kill you, right? Like, you can't really commit to anything that's too negative because this will kill you, right? It's relatively fast still, even from across the screen. So, very, very nice set of use skills on Zeta. Pogo can be very tricky. I didn't really utilize it very much, but you can do a lot of very tricky, not just high-low stuff, but, like, you know, delayed, like, frame trap stuff with multiple repeated pogos.
Nerds.
So, she, in general, I think Zeta is pretty damn solid outside of the fact that her buttons, her mediums are gonna suck for her on pressure and defense, and, oh, that's funny. And her execution ceiling is pretty high, right? And, like, if you do, like, nothing difficult on Zeta, if you don't even try to do a little bit of the fancy stuff, she gets pretty underwhelming, right? Like, if you're just gonna be doing, I mean, I guess you could do stuff like, yeah, I mean, if you're doing, like, if you want to do anything hard, she starts to look like more like Jita in the mid-screen, you know, which is not exactly, it's not horrible, but it's not super inspiring. So there is kind of, like, not only does the character have a lot of, like, difficult stuff you can do with the spears, but you don't have to do, like, the crazy shit, but you have to at least, like, be able to do, you know, like this. Right? If you're not doing that, that's not that hard once you learn, but if you're not doing at least that, the character is pretty underwhelming, right? So you do have to actually engage with what's difficult about her to unlock some of that potential. Hey, Break, maybe it's a skill issue, but how do you play against Sandalphon and Wilness? I feel like I always get fucked up in that matchup. You know, I'd stand in the mid-range with him and use your buttons against his 6P as fireballs, right? He has a DP, so don't just, like, spam knee or he can kill you for it pretty easily, certainly. I don't know if it strikes me as a particularly difficult matchup for Wellness, but because Sandalphon does not have a great low button to poke with in the neutral as well, so your Guilty Gear 6P is going to be quite effective, I think, in neutral against him. It's not like Catalina, where she can just, you know, 2M, and 2M can be a neutral tool for her, but how did Chad look outside? But yeah, I mean, that's, I guess, what, like, I've been a little scatterbrained talking about Zeta here, but that is kind of it, right? She's very solid, but she has a pretty gaping hole in the mediums, right? This sucks. But, like, her mid-screen is crazy. Her mediums, and again, her being pretty difficult to play. But, like, the mid-screen is crazy. She can do a lot of, like, interesting pressure stuff with the pogo. She can still, like, double overhead and stuff like that. So she's a little bit trickier on pressure than most characters, even though she doesn't have her, like, crazy-ass fuzzy anymore, right? Her U skills are good. Like, yeah, her general, like, ability to convert combos is good. Like, her corner BMBs are pretty meter efficient, and you get good Oki off of them, right? Oh, Rapsidity. We can talk about Rapsidity, sir. Rhapsody is weird, right? Because Rhapsody is, will Windlefallen do well against Wellness since his buttons are decently slow? I would probably not, just because the risk reward would be very scary. If you want to zone Wellness, I would Windlefallen. That's what I would do. Windlefallen Fireball is going to be hard for Wellness to 6P on reaction, I think, a lot of the time, depending on the spacing. So I think it'd be more so, if you want to zone, you can switch to Windlefallen and then, like, get rid of it when he gets close. But, you know, be aware of the fact that you may die. Don't thank me, friend, you very well may die. Rhapsody's a weird one, right? It's very good. But there is some fuckiness with it, right? Because it's not a real parry. It's an armor stance, and you pick a follow-up. So there is, again, a lot of onus on the player here. If you pick the wrong follow-up, you pick one that's too slow or something, they might block in time. Even though they swing into your parry, they might block it and kill you, right? And again, like multi-hits, it can be actually really hard to time when to do the Rhapsody follow-up. Because if you do it too early, you lose your armor. If I can show you on the... You see, as soon as I do a Rhapsody follow-up, the purple frames on the frame meter there, they end. The purple frames are the armored ones. So if you're blocking a multi-hit and you do the Rhapsody follow-up too early, you know, you can get cooked. With that being said, though, you'll notice, again, everything that's a problem with Rhapsody, as far as I understand it, is kind of like it's a skill issue thing, right? Like, it's a difficult-to-use reversal. However, right, if you get the hang of it, this is just basically a reversal she can combo off of, kind of. Like, if you're picking the right options, like, sometimes even without spending the cooldown. Like, if you get a counter-hit Rising Split on Rhapsody, this is, like, straight up a combo starter on your reversal, right? Which is, like, very good. And I believe medium, if you can, like, hard call out this, and this is always a combo starter, I think. But yeah, like, this is just, you know, a reversal Zeta can combo off of, essentially. I mean, I'm not doing technical input because I suck. There you go. Right? So, like, even with her back to the wall. So, again, Zeta, a lot of things about Zeta is, like, this thing is hard to use. It's not like this, like, you know, just turn your head off and win move. But Rhapsody's kind of insane if you get really good at understanding all the little nuances of it, right? It's a good Brave counter bait as well, right? Like, the combos in the corner can be very, very threatening. It's a relatively safe reversal, too, in that, you know, if you just whiff it, like, if you Rhapsody and they don't swing into it, you know, you can be very tricky with, like, what follow-up you do and when you do it. So it's not necessarily the same thing as, like, you know, if Gran thinks you're gonna do something and tries to DP it, right? If Gran thinks you're gonna do something, tries to DP, and he's wrong, he does that. And he's just stuck for that 100 frames right there. He's just stuck, right? Zeta, you can, like, go, oh, fuck, they didn't do anything, right? And if you do nothing, 63, which is already, you know, it's not the worst. But you can also be like, oh, fuck, they didn't do anything. Okay, well, I'm, you know, spaced around here, right? Like, I did it kind of at this range. You know, I'll do, like, this, it'll be -9, and I'm probably safe, right? You can be tricky with it. Now, you can get counter hits for this, but again, it's a lot trickier of a reversal to punish when you're wrong on your guess than it is for a lot of other characters, right? So, Rhapsody's a very strong reversal, but again, difficult to use. This is kind of the whole thing with this character. Her mid-screen is insane, but very difficult, right? A lot of her corner pressure is, like, very free-form and very creative, but again, it's, like, it's kind of hard to figure out, like, you know, to like, figure out the exact, like, the timings on the pogos and the double overheads and the high-low and all of that. You can get some very cool stuff, but, like, it's not like a just, like, plug-and-play, you know, out-of-the-box game plan that just works, right? There's sort of a theme all the way through with Zeta here of, like, a lot of her shit. You can even think of this about this with, like, her mediums too. Her mediums are not bad buttons, but, like, if you're not good at, like, holding the space, because they're very, like, this 2M is an amazing button for, like, mid-range, right? 6 active frames, only 12 recovery frames, 9 startup, and it's huge, right? This is an amazing button for playing the mid-range. But again, if you can't hold that space and you get into a bad situation, you know, you gotta start cursing this button real fucking fast, right? So, it's a very cool character, honestly. Zeta is very, very fun in that, you know, there's a lot of reason if you want to play a character where you can, like, just dump a lot of hours into them and be rewarded for it. Zeta kind of is that character, right? Zeta is one of, there's a few like those, right? Eustace is that, Grimnir is that, certainly. Nier is that, even though she sucks, but it's still, like, Nier is still very much a lab monster character, right? And Zeta's right up there. Zeta might be the most up there these days, right? Especially with a lot of Grimnir setups being gone nowadays. Like, if you just want to dump a lot of time and, like, if you love to lab and you love to just get all the little minutia of things optimized and shit like that, Zeta is probably the character for you, right? Very, very cool, fun design. And it's cool to have in a game like Grand Blue where, again, executionally at least, most characters are not that complicated, right? So it's cool to have a character where there's, you know, you can actually dig a little bit deeper in there and, like, really train your fingers to get really good with her, right? And as far as how good she is, she's, again, I do think this is unironically a character where I have to hold consistency against her, right? So, like, that's a bit of a hit. And again, like, her pressure and defense struggling because of her mediums and things that, like, you know, only she cannot punish is a bit of a hit as well. On top of, like, you know, for just general Grand Blue, like, she doesn't have, like, an amazing throw bait. She has this, right? But again, it's, you know, it's quite unsafe if you're wrong, or same thing with, like, this or something like that. Like, kind of a high risk, high reward situation, right? You can space this out to be safe, but again, at that point, it's not really a throw bait anymore. Like, that's safe against most characters, not Grand, but most characters. But you know, so her throw bait doesn't have like an amazing throw bait, doesn't have like amazing pressure. Like 5U is kind of, well, at least until she gets the knockdown, right? 5U is kind of like her only good like pressure ender, and it's minus and kind of pushes you back out to the Grand Blue zone, which is nice for you because you are Zeta. So you have these really nice buttons, and also you can convert off them very well into Arves. But you know, she doesn't have like a crazy amount of like good pressure specials. In fact, she has none. It really is just 5U, right? So like there's certainly things you can hold against her, but just like how good her mid-screen is, how good her average damage is, how good her buttons are for, you know, the mid-range and footsies and stuff like that. You know, how tricky you can be, like how good her Oki is, even without the fuzzy, right? Her Oki, like you get, like there's a lot going on there once she gets the knockdown, right? How good Rapsidity is, all of that. I don't know. I could be argued in my head, like if I picture the tier list in my head right now as I see it, I would say that Zeta is probably somewhere on the higher end of like the mid tier. So in right now, as the way I have it in my head is I have like a top tier, like a high top tier, which is its own tier. I have like a low top tier, which is a second tier, right? And then I have a high tier, a mid tier, a low tier, and a bottom tier. I have 6 tiers in my head for this game right now. I think over time, since the Versucha patch, the game has been getting sort of less condensed, right? The gaps between the best and worst characters feel like they're getting bigger in my head, patch over patch. So Zeta is like, I could see her either like the top of that mid tier or the bottom of the high tier. She's still pretty solid, which is kind of crazy because she lost maybe the best 50-50 in the entire game, right? To be fair, back then, right? After learning more about this character could do, you motherfuckers are smoking some shit. I'm fighting ghosts at this point. It's been like, you know, Zeta has not been relevant in this conversation for like a couple of months, but like the motherfuckers who back when Zeta had her fuzzy were calling her potential woman, you guys are actually, there's something wrong with you. Like they're like you just don't. Like what more can a character possibly fucking have than she had back then? Remember results? Yeah, shut the fuck up, right? Like I don't care, man. The point is, you know, Zane, when he was on the character select screen, he was like, Grimnir looks cooler than Zeta, and the timeline diverged, right? It just so happened that the guy who wants to be the technical character did not pick up the Zeta. He picked up Grim instead, right? The fucking butterfly flapped its wings, and Zeta never won a big tournament. But like, I don't give a fuck about results most, right? But like, this character's fucking crazy. Like this character with a looping 50-50 that works off literally any hit in the mid screen and does like 7,000 damage every time you get hit by. What the fuck were people on? Like that's more so what I want to like relitigate almost. The idea that this character before she got her fuzzy removed, like that potential woman was like at all a real thing. This character was fucking broken, right? She's potential woman because no one explored her potential? No, she was potential woman because people didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. She was just a top tier with no representation is what she was, right? Potential woman is like, oh, she could, no, she was a top tier, right? Who the pros decide to pick up does not indicate who is top tier and not, right? Zerom at one fucking CEO with Charlotta. She's garbage. Like, yeah. Now, the one thing you could hold against her, certainly, is probably the reason a lot of pros didn't pick her up is because of the executional barriers there. But, like, again, I don't think it's literally, like, Zeta is, like, an unplayably hard top tier. She's easier than, like, pretty much every complicated character in, like, you know, harder fighting games. And those guys still have top tier representation. Just, you know, smaller professional player base in Grand Blue, right? So, that's not important now because Zeta, you know, Zeta doesn't exist, right? Zeta doesn't exist, not in the top tier. Like this character was like an actual top 5 character, easy, when she had her fuzzy. And the idea that she wasn't is genuinely absurd to me, right? People felt very strongly about it too. They were like, what the fuck do you mean she's good, man? She doesn't even have anything. I'm like, okay, whatever you say. She's no SF4C Viper? Yeah, like it's not like this character is like so hard that no pro could ever pick her up. It's just, she's harder than most Grand Blue characters. So if you just want to win, you'll pick someone easy. But like, she was worth the investment, right? There's like a no point in history she had a chance to be the obvious top tier pick. I think the executional requirements are why, right? The thing is, a lot of Grand Blue top tiers are very simple. Very simple. So like, you know, why would you play Zeta if you could just play Catalina or something? It really would just have to be like I mean, to be fair, you could say a very similar thing about Grimnir, right? That's why no one played him. Even when he was like considered to be the unanimous like best character in the game, like last patch, unanimous, close enough, right? But like, no one really fucking played him, right? No one really fucking played him besides like Zane and like one guy in Europe whose name I forget now, right? Because even if he's better than like, if he's like, you know, 2 steps better than like Catalina or some shit, or like Belial or something, I'm just gonna play that because it's way simpler, right? It just so happens that no pro was like, oh, I fucking, you know, I love Zeta, I want to pick Zeta or something. She was not overshadowed by Belial and B. I don't think so. Like Zeta, like again, power level near and like the early like pantheon of Granblue characters is probably the only time I would say Zeta was overshadowed. I think until she got her, like, from the Versuja patch until the Galleon patch, when she got her fuzzy removed, Zeta was absolutely in the exact same weight class as every top tier in the game, right? Like, Zeta was, I had, like, if you go back, I had Zeta, like, top 3, top 4, top 5, right? Like, she was in that weight class with pre-nerf Lucilius, Catalina, Belial, Beatrix, whoever you want to talk about, right? It really was only that Fantastic Four on game release. As before she even had the fuzzy, to be fair. So she got buffed a lot in the Versuja patch. Even though her use skills got taken away. Like, it only was that, like, Fantastic Four, you know, like, the Royal Guard and Nier that ever, I would say, overshadowed her personally. But it's like Seika and 2 Japanese players keeping her alive. Yeah. And now the character is certainly, just solid, I would say. She's pretty good, right? At the end of the day, you take the best 50-50 in the game, damn near. Maybe the second best. Grim Fuzzy might have been the best. But you take, like, the best 50-50 in the game away from a character. Turns out it hurts a lot, right? Hurts a lot. Remember on launch people put her at top 2 with Nier because of the U-skill dump? Yeah, she wasn't that good. She was like right, again, there was a cast of characters. Release Granblue, you had Queen Nier, right? You had Royal Guard Siegfried. Undisputed top 1, undisputed top 2. Then you had, like, you know, again, you had, like, the Gorosei. You had, like, your 3 elders. You have Belial and Seox and Lancelot, right? All kind of, like, kneeling at the throne. And then you had, like, kind of the guys standing outside, like, waiting for audience with the queen, right? Like, Jita, Zeta's definitely, like, at that point, we definitely put Zeta in there, right? Jita's in there. There's other characters you can, there were, like, characters that were very, very good, but, like, a little bit, like, Zeta's been a top tier for most of this game's lifespan, basically. It's only post-Galleon patch that she wasn't, right? Jita, Zeta, who else? Who else is, like, pretty damn good, but not quite touching, like, the GOATs? The Fantastic Five. Or the Fantastic Four and Nier, right? But Zeta was in there, too. Jita is the other character that comes off the top of my head that you can think of as well. This is, of course, before Beatrix released. But anyway. Point is, Zeta is pretty solid, I think. Like, still pretty strong. And there's still a ton to chew on with this character, right? Like, I know there's been, like, complaints about, for example, like, Grimnir, he's a lot more balanced than he used to be. He's still better than Zeta is at this point. Like, he didn't get nerfed as hard as she did. But, like, you know, but a lot of people are like, oh, you know, a lot of, like, the sauce and stuff like that. Turns out, like, the sauce was kind of the broken shit. And they're not really enjoying it as much. Zeta is a character, I think, where they nerfed her pretty significantly, but there's still a shit ton to, like, chew on and dig your teeth into with this character, right? So, like, highly recommend playing her, certainly. She was pretty fun. She's pretty good. Big fun.